Hello, my name is Adam Rifkin. Welcome back to Trailers from Hell. Today we're going to talk about a classic 70s movie. In the 1970s, Hollywood was undergoing a renaissance. The big Hollywood studios were broke, all their musicals were flopping, and a group of maverick filmmakers were given free rein to do movies that were more character-driven, political-minded, and challenged the status quo. One of the cornerstone movies of the whole generation under the influence genre is Serpico. Let's talk about it now.
Frank Serpico.
Serpico is a 1973 cop drama directed by the great Sidney Lumet. It's based on the true story of real New York City policeman Frank Serpico, who went undercover to expose corruption in the New York City Police Department, and it stars Al Pacino as the undercover hippie cop who refused to be sucked into the world of corruption that infested the police force around him. The film is based on the book by Peter Maas, who, prior to writing Frank Serpico's biography, also wrote The Valachi Papers. The screenplay was written by the fantastic Waldo Salt, who wrote many of my favorite movies of the era, including Midnight Cowboy and The Day of the Locust and Coming Home. And it was also written by Norman Wexler, who wrote Saturday Night Fever, which was obviously a huge hit, and Joe, which is another great socially relevant movie of the period about the dark side of Americana. The film was produced by Martin Bregman, who actually would go on to work with Al Pacino numerous times, producing Dog Day Afternoon, Scarface, Sea of Love, and Carlito's Way. And the film was executive produced by the very prolific Dino De Laurentiis. Sidney Lumet and Al Pacino made a great team. And the themes in Serpico, Lumet explored again and again throughout his career. Themes like the fragility of justice, police corruption, and characters with an urgent commitment to ethical responsibility. Frank Serpico is the quintessential Sidney Lumet hero, in that he defies peer pressure and he's committed to his own code of moral values. And in Lumet's autobiography, he actually describes Serpico as a portrait of a real rebel with a cause. Lumet started his career as an actor, so Lumet actually has become known as being a great actor's director. It's one of the things he's very famous for. And he's worked with the best of them over the years. And he often works with actors who are famous for having studied the method acting and employing the method acting technique, which is a very intense immersion in the character. And one of the great famous method actors of all time is Al Pacino, who in his early career studied under method acting guru Lee Strasberg. Lumet obviously loves New York, and 1970s New York was a hotbed of social problems, moral ambiguity, and political corruption. Serpico is one of those great, searing social issue movies that you could just never make today. The early 70s were the era of the Pentagon Papers and Watergate, and the country was pissed off that it was being lied to, and people actually cared in those days. There's a lot more apathy today. Society as a whole was questioning the status quo and wasn't taking the established institutions of authority for granted anymore, and everybody was questioning everything, and people wanted the truth exposed about what was going on behind closed doors of power. Frank Serpico was actually the perfect hero for the time. He didn't just expose police corruption, but his whole long-haired, bearded hippie cop look was the antithesis of everything associated with conformity. And that's one of the things that I loved about the movie. The performance was very authentic, and the real Frank Serpico loved the performance by Al Pacino. I guess who wouldn't? I mean, if Al Pacino played me, it wouldn't matter how much he was screaming, I'd have loved that performance too, obviously. Al Pacino had just come off The Godfather, which was a huge hit, and so suddenly he's this actor in serious demand. He was being offered everything, but he wanted to make sure that he did a role as his next role that was completely different than Michael Corleone. Serpico actually got him an Academy Award nomination, and Al Pacino was on an amazing run at this time. I mean, aside from Serpico, Al Pacino had Godfather 1, Godfather 2, Dog Day Afternoon, and Justice for All. I mean, actors just don't get those kind of opportunities anymore, and it's no surprise that he became such a big star. So the real-life Serpico wanted to be on the set all the time because the movie was based on him. He wanted to make sure everything was authentic, but it was making Al Pacino feel self-conscious, so Sidney Lumet had to kick him off the set. Anyway, aside from the brilliant social impact the film had on the cinematic landscape, Serpico also holds the distinction of being the first time in a movie the line "drop your cocks and grab your socks" was ever uttered.